The Emperor expected Earth to kneel. Instead, we hacked his throne room, looped Rick Astley in 12 dimensions, and made his daughter a cosplay influencer. Surrender? Nah, we exported rebellion. You have 5 days to surrender, or your moon becomes ash. Choose wisely, Earth. The voice was smooth, metallic, smug. Emperor Thalkor's face, if you could call that angular porcelain skull a face, flickered across every screen on Earth, larger than life and drenched in regal contempt. Marcus Hartley didn't flinch. He muted the message mid-threat. Across the war room, others stared, stunned or pale, but he calmly sipped bitter synth coffee, blinking slowly like someone who'd already seen the end of this movie. They really sent us an ultimatum with a monologue, he said flatly. Cute. General Soraya slammed her hand on the table. This isn't cute. That thing commands a fleet of planet killers. Half the colonies have already gone dark. You know what happened to Vega 5? Marcus didn't respond. He stared at the static on the screen where Thalkor's face had been, then stood, smoothing the sleeves of his worn bomber jacket. You don't bring me back for conventional warfare, he said. So either you let me do this my way, Soraya interrupted. Your way starts riots with poetry and ends with neural overdoses. He grinned without warmth. Exactly. It works. Chancellor Wren leaned forward, his voice gravel. Do you have a plan? Marcus turned, pacing. Not a plan, a weapon. You know the Ecotech system? The Mars Festival? We know what happened on Mars, Soraya snapped. I refined it. I can hit subspace frequencies, transmit sensory experiences across psychic relays. If we hijack the Dominion's broadcast lattice, we don't just send them a message, we embed one in their minds, a virus made of emotion, culture, memory. The room fell silent. You want to fight psychic totalitarianism with music videos? Soraya said, deadpan. No, Marcus said. I want to hit their command structure with a full sensory cultural sledgehammer, a symphony they can't unhear. They've sterilized every species they've conquered, burned art, banned love songs, killed languages. I say we give it all back in one blast. They won't know how to process it. Wren's voice was quieter. You're talking psychological warfare. I'm talking counter-infection, not with bombs, with everything that makes us human. A pause. Then, what do you need? Wren asked. Marcus grinned like a lunatic. A ship, a crew, and full access to banned media. 3 days later, Marcus stood aboard the Cultural Vanguard. The hull still bore scorch marks from past failures. An experimental stealth cruiser, too unstable for fleet use, now retrofitted into Earth's first musical weapon. Its AI core was called Drop Bear, an acronym even its designers no longer remembered. It had the voice of an Australian drill sergeant and the humor of a blackout drunk. Oi, Drop Bear said as Marcus entered the neural bay. You're late. I've already converted the air filtration hum into a baseline. Want to hear it? Marcus ignored the offer. Run power to the forward banks. We're going hunting. Target? Talent. First was Sapphire, tagged as a Class B subversive, and internationally banned graffiti prophet. They found her spray painting a diplomatic shuttle on Luna with a neuro-reactive mural that changed depending on how guilty you felt. You're insane, she said when Marcus explained the plan. Probably. I'm in. Then Chapel, a former hacker turned messianic cult leader who used Shakespearean iambic pentameter to bypass quantum encryption. Marcus found him in a derelict monastery, arguing with a talking toaster. When Marcus told him the mission, Chapel bowed and whispered, Then let's slip the dogs of funk. Rhonda Guts was last, retired war drummer, implanted pheromone emitters. She'd lost her squad to Dominion sterilizers and hadn't spoken to anyone in 5 years. When Marcus showed her the beat signature he needed, a rising rhythm that could bypass mental dampeners, she nodded once and started to play. The room trembled. The team had 5 hours before Thalkor's deadline. Drop Bear spun up the signal sequencer. "We doing this with class or chaos?" "Both," Marcus said. The transmission they prepared was unlike anything ever sent across galactic comms. It started with silence, then heartbeat, then a whisper. Then it flooded with human noise. Laughter, war cries, lullabies, the crunch of snow under boots, political arguments, wedding vows, sirens, thunder, the squeal of tires, the cheers of stadiums, the hum of dying cities, all layered beneath a growing melody. Part war drum, part church hymn, part nightclub drop. Drop Bear narrated it with quotes from banned Terran. Literature while Chapel encoded the visuals into a format that bypassed Dominion neural firewalls. Sapphire injected chaotic visuals, colors not safe for the rational mind. Rhonda layered the beats with hidden emotion pulses. Marcus oversaw the final sequence, heart racing. "This isn't art," he muttered. "It's a detonation." 4 minutes to midnight, Drop Bear said. Falcor's voice crackled again. "Globally, you have squandered your final days. Your species dies with whimpers, not screams. Goodbye, Earth." Marcus activated the transmit. "We scream loud enough to wake the galaxy," he whispered. The symphony of defiance hit like a virus. Not one Dominion ship fired. Not one general gave orders. Instead, across hundreds of systems, officers dropped. Weapons. Pilots wept. Overseers collapsed in seizure-like confusion. Entire ships shut down, crew overwhelmed by emotional flashbacks they'd never lived. One admiral reported seeing her mother smile. Another defected mid-transmission and played the signal on loop across her entire fleet. In the Imperial throne room, Falcor stumbled backward, eyes bleeding light. "What have you done?" he roared. "From orbit," Marcus responded live. "We reminded your people what it means to feel. Good luck suppressing that." The Emperor's scream cut off mid-syllable. Earth's moon remained intact. So did Earth. And in the silence after, the galaxy didn't fear humanity. It started imitating them. "Wake up, Maestro. We've got chaos to orchestrate." Marcus blinked at the AI's voice echoing through the ship. He hadn't slept in 30 hours. His head pounded from exposure to unfiltered echo feedback loops. He dragged himself to the Vanguard's bridge where his new recruits waited. They didn't look like soldiers. They didn't look like heroes. But they were perfect. Sapphire sprawled upside down on a console, tuning her neural spray rig. "I assume we're not painting flowers. Only if the petals detonate shame," Marcus said. Chapel sat cross-legged in a corner, eyes closed, muttering code like it was sacred verse. Rhonda stood by the subsonic array, arms crossed, silent, watching him. She hadn't spoken since. Boarding. Drop Bear, hovering as a flickering hologram, glitched between punk rock skulls and animated bears. "I assume you've all read the brief?" Marcus asked. "I skimmed," Sapphire said. "We're hijacking a Dominion relay satellite, infecting their civilian dream feed with emotional viruses, and possibly dying in beautiful agony." "Correct," Marcus said. "We'll begin with the E73 node orbiting Frandor Prime. It's mostly used for educational indoctrination, language stripping, memory reformatting, that kind of thing." "Charming," Chapel muttered. "Shall we turn their nursery rhymes into revolutions?" "Exactly," Marcus nodded. "We embed our sequence in their children's sleep programs. By the time anyone notices, half a generation will be dreaming. In jazz and protest songs." Rhonda tapped her drum pad once, low and deep. Marcus took that as agreement. The Vanguard jumped into position. Dominion patrols hovered nearby, indifferent. They didn't see the Vanguard as a threat, just another broken Terran hull running on salvage fumes. Drop Bear cracked the relay's defense net in under a minute. "Their encryption's older than your slang. Uploading payload." The data feed surged. Marcus initiated the first sequence. a soft layering of ambient sound designed to blend into lullabies, but underneath it rode a synthetic pulse matching human maternal heartbeat rhythms mixed with whispers of extinct languages and tonal cues from pre-Dominion tribal chants. "This won't hit like a bomb," Marcus said. "It'll marinate their minds." Sapphire grinned. Culture slow-cooked in rebellion. Chapel rose, arms wide. "Then let us baptize their children in funk." The satellite lit up with false diagnostics. The feed was clean by Dominion standards. Visually, identical to their programming, but encoded with subharmonics that told the subconscious a different story. Within 3 hours, Dominion parents would notice odd drawings. Children humming off-key tunes, murmurs of imaginary friends who asked strange questions. "Phase 1 complete," Drop Bear announced. "No alarms." Marcus leaned against the console. "Good. Now we move to the next step." Sapphire cocked her head. "We're not done?" "That was the whisper," Marcus said. "Now comes the scream." He selected their second target, a supply station orbiting Talrasha 9, used to transmit logistics orders across half the Dominion's third arm. But more importantly, its entertainment feed was piped directly into the living quarters of mid-level officers. The plan: hijack the nightly opera broadcast and replace it with a full-spectrum echo burst formatted as a musical narrative of human resistance. Real footage, fictionalized voices, wrapped in harmonic dissonance that induced nostalgia, longing, and identity crisis. The kind of thing that made even trained minds pause and wonder. Drop Bear patched into the commnet. "They're airing Triumph of the Spire. Shall I remix it?" "Overlay our piece," Marcus said. "Fade it in through the background chants. Let the climax crack their composure." Rhonda stepped forward. She placed her palms on the resonance pad and began the beat. Slow at first, deep, like thunder underwater. Chapel triggered the vocal thread, a woman's voice singing in broken Terran layered with battle cries from Earth's history. Sapphire added visual pulses that danced across the feed, seemingly random but matched to cognitive trigger sequences. Marcus closed his eyes, syncing the components. The feed began to distort. On the Dominion station, officers leaned forward. They felt something, a hollow ache, a flicker of forgotten warmth. Some felt fear, others rage, one started to cry. He didn't know why. Within minutes, the feed cut off. Alarms blared. The station scrambled fighters. The vanguard jumped before a shot was fired. Drop Bear's voice cracked like static and laughter. "We made them feel something. Bastards weren't ready." Marcus slumped into a seat. His hands trembled. 2 down, 1 to go. He brought up their final target for this phase, an elite military academy on Ixiar's moon, training the next generation of overseers, unbreachable firewalls, brutal anti-signal AI, no civilian feed. Only pure, unfiltered doctrine. "We won't get in through their systems," Marcus said. "We go old school." Sapphire raised an eyebrow. "Courier bomb?" "Worse. Live performance." Chapel's grin was crooked and wild. "You mean to perform?" "They think humans are erratic, emotional, weak," Marcus said. "We prove it, on their turf." "Suicide," Rhonda said quietly, the first word she'd spoken since arrival. Marcus met her eyes. "Maybe, but they won't forget it." They landed under diplomatic clearance forged from a stolen council badge and 3 minutes of Drop Bear's charm protocol. Their act was, billed as a historical reenactment of pre-Unity Dominion culture. A harmless curiosity, the auditorium was full. Overseer cadets, instructors, expressionless and rigid. Chapel opened with a monologue disguised as ancient poetry. It twisted mid-line into Shakespeare, then slipped into spoken-word protest. No alarms, just raised eyebrows. Sapphire took the stage with colors so bright they seared the air. Her mural bled across the wall, forming human faces crying, laughing, screaming, all in perfect symmetry with Rhonda's beat, which pulsed in frequencies too deep for conscious hearing. Then Marcus stepped forward and sang, not with words, with tone, breath, truth. His voice was cracked and raw and human. It vibrated across the chamber, bypassing armor, doctrine, pride. It made one cadet fall to his knees. Another ran. A third simply whispered, "What is this feeling?" The alarm finally sounded. Red lights flashed. Storm guards burst in. The Vanguard team dropped smoke screens, fired sonic flares. They retreated through vents. Sapphire left a final message on the wall in spray. "We are already inside you." They made it back to orbit, bruised, burned, laughing. 3 targets, Marcus said, breathing hard. "All infected," Drop Bear whistled. "Congratulations. You've just weaponized art." Marcus looked out into space. "No, we've weaponized being human." The Dominion's retaliation didn't come with guns. It came with silence. Entire sectors blacked out overnight. Ships stopped responding. Civilian outposts dissolved into static. Then came the message. "This is the silence. Your minds belong to us now." Marcus sat in the Vanguard's darkened command bay. The lights dimmed to preserve power. The crew said nothing. Even Drop Bear was quiet. The AI's avatar hovered still, reduced to a low pulsing dot. "They're jamming subspace resonance," Marcus muttered. No sound, no signal, not even light. Chapel exhaled slowly. "Their god is absence." Sapphire kicked a crate. "They stole the damn signal. Who does that? Who hijacks existence?" Rhonda tapped her fingers on her drum. Pad, but the tones didn't resonate. No vibration, just flat silence. Marcus stood. "They're not killing us. They're erasing us. The symphony's still spreading, but if they mute enough minds fast enough, they win by subtraction. We have one chance to counter this." Sapphire frowned. "With what? We can't transmit anything. The signal's dead." Marcus paced. "We don't need their network. We carry the sound ourselves, physically, directly into the silence." Chapel tilted his head. "Into the maw of the void?" "Into their central relay," Marcus said. "The core node, the place where they generate this anti-frequency. We bypass transmission entirely. We bring the symphony in raw." Rhonda raised an eyebrow. "That's suicide." Marcus didn't argue. "Drop Bear, map the silence's origin." The AI flickered. Back to life, distorted and glitching. "Coordinates locked. You're not going to like them." The projection revealed a barren system orbiting a neutron star, dark and pulsing like a dying heartbeat. The signal emanated from a twisted mass of metal. The silence's hub, a construct feeding on collapsed data, devouring thought. Marcus clenched his jaw. "We go now." The Vanguard dropped out of slipstream directly into the void. No starlight, no motion, just the oppressive weight of nothing pressing on their senses. "Psychic pressure climbing," Drop Bear warned. "If you've got a speech, now's the time." Marcus looked to his team. "No speech, just noise. We're not here to win a war. We're here to wake them up." Sapphire strapped in and loaded her neural paint. "I'll color the darkness." Chapel loaded resonance code into his implants. "And I shall write its death in verse." Rhonda tightened her gloves. Her heartbeat alone was enough to power the subwoofer array. Marcus connected the final drive to his spinal plug. "Drop Bear, play sequence alpha. Override all safeties." "Seriously?" "Yes." "Okay, but if we survive, I want naming rights on the sequel." They launched the pod. It was barely a capsule, rigged with nothing but Ecotech amplifiers and raw memory cores. As it pierced the perimeter of the silence hub, Marcus felt it, the absence of sensation, like falling into an abyss without gravity or end. The pod collided. There was no impact, just a threshold breached. "Initializing direct feed," Drop Bear said. 3 seconds until full release." Marcus spoke the last command himself. "Play everything." The symphony ignited, not as a sound but as a feeling. Loss, joy, love, rage, laughter, regret, triumph, pain, hope. A scream layered with lullabies. A war cry dressed in wedding bells, children singing in the middle of riots, drums echoing through the bones of history, a mother whispering goodnight to a son who never came home. The hub shuddered. Inside the core of the silence, something cracked. A structure designed to suppress cognition now faced the one thing it couldn't quantify: emotion. Instructors collapsed. Overseers screamed. Suppressed species heard music for the first time in generations. On a ship orbiting the edge of the dead. System, a commander covered his ears not from pain, but because he remembered. His sister's laugh. The way rain sounded on a tin roof. The warmth of holding a newborn. The virus wasn't data. It was truth. The core began to rupture. Not explode. Resonate. Each pulse sent memories surging outward. The hub broadcast it. Unintentionally, flooding systems it once silenced. Across the Dominion, blanked minds awoke, one by one. Then all at once. Marcus could barely breathe. The pressure inside the pod was crushing. His spine felt like fire. But he kept the feed open. Drop Bear was screaming over the comms. "We're losing hull integrity. You've got 30 seconds before you disintegrate, boss." Marcus didn't move. 20. The light pouring through the cracks of the pod wasn't real light. It was emotion made visible. 15. He looked at the feed. It was working. 10. He smiled. Let it all out. Drop Bear initiated emergency extraction. The pod ruptured, launching Marcus and the core drive out through a secondary chute. The AI dragged his unconscious body back onto the Vanguard seconds before the chamber collapsed inward. The hub imploded, not violently, but beautifully, like a concert ending on a perfect final note. When Marcus woke up, Earth was glowing in every transmission. Not physically, culturally, spiritually. Every world that had heard the symphony was responding, remixing, adapting, adding. The silence was gone. Chapel greeted him with a grin. "You broke a god with a mixtape." Rhonda handed him back his comm link. Sapphire painted his medical bed with a bright, defiant mural, a silhouette holding a speaker above his head, blasting sound into the stars. Marcus exhaled. Not just a mixtape, a reminder. He looked out. The viewport as new transmissions poured in. Songs, poems, dances, alien languages trying to say, thank you. Humanity hadn't just survived. It had become heard. Marcus stood barefoot on the stage of the Dominion's Capital Transmission Tower, staring down the barrels of 6 rifles and a throne of polished voidstone. Behind him, the final version of the symphony loaded into the master console, humming, like it wanted to breathe. The Vanguard had smuggled themselves into the heart of the Empire using a hijacked diplomatic skiff and a forged invitation to a cultural demonstration. Now they were surrounded. No one had fired yet. That was the problem. Thalcor entered in silence, flanked by silent guards wearing mirrored masks. He walked like a man who had never once doubted his right to rule. His voice carried no volume, but everyone heard it. "You dare bring your disease into my palace?" Marcus rolled his shoulders, bruised and shaking from the pod extraction, ribs still aching from the G-force. "I didn't come here to ask. You spread madness, discord. Civilized worlds are collapsing under your signal." "They're not collapsing," Marcus said. "They're waking up." Thalcor descended the steps toward him. "You believe feelings are power, sentiment, memory, that will, mere chaos?" He waved one hand and a nearby screen flared to life, showing riots, broken statues, alien crowds singing and fighting in the same breath. "This is your legacy." Marcus didn't flinch. "This is yours unraveling. You think your little band of degenerates can undo centuries of order?" "No," Marcus said. But your empire's already doing that itself. I just turned up the volume. Thalcor motioned to his guards. Erase him. Wipe the feed. Rhonda's drum cracked the silence. The beat shook the windows. The guards paused. One dropped his rifle. The rhythm wasn't music. It was memory, made sound. Rhonda stood in the wings, silent, her hands moving with grim precision. She'd lost her family to sterilizers. Now she was playing their names into history. Chapel stepped forward next, reciting lines that didn't match any known language but still hit deep. Each syllable fragmented Dominion shielding. Cadets watching the feed from their barracks blinked and remembered rain, a smell, a voice they'd buried, a sensation that didn't fit protocol. Sapphire triggered the visuals. Colors and light spilled across the chamber, not art, not noise. They were codes embedded in expression, forbidden visuals, faces that looked like people, imperfect, alive, defiant. One of the guards dropped his helmet and cried. Marcus walked to the console. I'm not here to destroy you, he said to Thalcor. I'm here to overwrite you. Thalcor extended his hand, and darkness swallowed the floor. The silence returned. It poured into the chamber through the neural grid, choking frequencies, blacking out transmission, silencing everything again. Dropbear cut in through a flickering emergency channel. We've got 5 seconds before this whole tower goes offline. Launch or lose it. Marcus stared at Thalcor. You're terrified of one thing, that your empire only holds as long as no one hears anything else. Do it! Rhonda growled. Marcus triggered the final override. The symphony exploded out of the master console like light compressed into song. It wasn't a broadcast. It was a pulse wave, physical, tangible, burning through subspace filters and psychic dampeners alike. It hit Thalcor like a memory he'd locked away for centuries. His knees buckled. His scream was swallowed. Across the capital, citizens heard it. Not with ears, but with something older. They dropped to their knees, not in submission, but in grief, in joy, in realization that they'd been numb for so long they'd forgotten what feeling felt like. Transmission feeds across the Dominion cracked open. Not just Dominion tech, everything. Backed up archives, disconnected memory, pods, lost languages. Cultural relics auto-synced with the burst. Every conquered race received something back. A song, a phrase, an image, something that said, "You were never erased." Marcus collapsed. He could barely hear, couldn't breathe. But he saw the palace shift, not physically, but energetically. The walls no longer whispered the Emperor's name. They whispered possibility. Chapel caught him and hoisted him upright. Not quite dead yet. Rhonda checked her gear. Signals spreading, faster than we modeled. Sapphire looked toward the throne. You want to say something dramatic? Marcus stood, cracked a smile through bloody lips. No, that was the dramatic part. Thalcor writhed on the floor, clutching his skull, eyes wide. I see them. I see all of them. Good, Marcus said. Then you're not blind anymore. The guards didn't shoot. They dropped their weapons. Some joined the rhythm, some knelt. One turned and walked into the city with his helmet off. Dropbear's voice came through, ragged but proud. All Dominion nodes are echoing. We did it. You broke the galaxy. No, Marcus whispered. We freed it. He looked up at the sky through the broken dome. The stars had never looked brighter. Marcus stood at the edge of the platform, overlooking the sea of lights. Billions of transmissions surged through the subspace relays, songs, stories, jokes, arguments, old Earth sitcoms dubbed into alien dialects, new languages born from the mashup of forgotten ones. Not a single one was silent. The Dominion was gone, not toppled by warships or assassins, but drowned in raw, undiluted presence. Dropbear's voice crackled softly in his ear. Final spread metrics coming in. 97% of known inhabited systems have received fragments. Multiple independent rebroadcasts. We've reached critical cultural saturation. Ain't no going back now. Marcus didn't respond right away. His mind swam, caught between exhaustion and disbelief. What about the core systems? Capitulating. The Empress of Larn defected after her kid wrote a poem. The Overseer fleet guarding the Vault worlds turned their shields into rotating light sculptures. And Thalcor? Still breathing? Worse. He's trending. Marcus turned. Trending? Yeah. Some remixer in the Vexian belt looped his breakdown into a trance anthem. They call it Cry of the Crystal King. It's got 1 billion streams. He's a meme now. Galactic pity icon. Marcus exhaled, rubbing his eyes. He's going to hate that more than death. Chapel approached, his robes scuffed and smoke-streaked, a datapad tucked under his arm. The Accord wants you to speak. To who? Chapel gestured to the sky. Everyone. Marcus sat, elbows on knees. I didn't do this to become a politician. You didn't. But they need a voice. I gave them music, isn't that enough? Chapel smiled. You gave them permission. Now they want to know what to do with it. Sapphire leaned against the railing beside him, wiping paint from her gloves. They're scared. Whole civilizations looking around, realizing they were never allowed to feel. You cracked them open. Now they want to know how not to bleed out. Marcus closed his eyes. We're not saviors. No, she said. We're proof that something else is possible. Rhonda stepped into view, holding a small speaker. She pressed play. A child's voice spoke in a hybrid language, laughing mid-sentence, then singing an improvised melody that didn't belong to any culture, but felt like all of them at once. Marcus listened. His shoulders loosened. Drop Bear chimed in again. They're ready, boss. Whenever you are. Marcus stood and walked to the console. The platform lit beneath him, linking to every broadcast-capable node across the galactic net. No anthem, no special effects, just his voice, translated in real time, carried by emotion and memory across every known world. I don't have answers, he began. Only reminders. You were told to erase yourselves, to compress, to flatten, to sterilize. Anything that didn't fit. Your songs, your fears, your joy, your hunger. You were told to hide what made you real. He took a breath, and yet here we are, still messy, still loud, still human, or close enough. In distant systems, beings of all forms leaned closer. You're not broken. You were silenced. That silence is over. He looked toward the shattered spire in the distance, the last Dominion banner half burned. Now you get to decide who you are, what comes next. No one's coming to shape it for you. That's the cost of freedom. You have to fill the space yourself. He paused. But if you're looking for a place to start, find someone different from you. Ask them what they've lost. Then tell them what you found. The transmission ended. Drop Bear was quiet a long moment. You know, for a guy who hates speeches, that wasn't half bad. Marcus laughed. High praise. Chapel lowered his head. And now? Marcus looked out at the stars. We give them distance. Let them breathe. Sapphire smirked. You don't actually think we're going to disappear quietly, do you? No. We're going to throw a concert so loud it scares time itself. But after that, yeah, quiet sounds nice. Rhonda nodded once. They boarded the Vanguard for the last time as a weapon. It would travel again, but not as a carrier of war. It would become a library, an archive of everything Earth had shared and everything it had learned in return. In the weeks that followed, new alliances formed, not of nations, but of ideas. Storytellers, historians, dancers, architects, philosophers. The rebuilt network wasn't governed. It was curated, evolved. It changed by participation, not command. The Dominion didn't die. It unraveled, then rewove itself into something unrecognizable. Thalcor lived in exile, surrounded by sculptures carved from sound, paintings that changed when you cried near them, operas that ended with silence and began again if you laughed. It was said he wandered the halls, muttering old orders to no one, occasionally pausing to listen, then sobbing when a melody reminded him of what he once forbade. Marcus visited no capitals, held no office, signed no treaties. He was seen sometimes, in markets or orbiting quiet moons, always listening. When asked why he did it, he answered only once. Because the worst thing they did wasn't destroy planets. It was make people forget how to feel, and I couldn't let that be the last song played.